And you're welcome back. A new study by the Department of Geography Education at the University of Education, Winneba, has revealed the impact of mining on children's access to education within mining communities. The study, which focuses on the Ashanti, that's the Asutifi North District in the Ahafo Region, unveiled alarming consequences of mining practices on the activity of children to access education. The report underscores the pressing need for a closer examination of the socio-economic implications of mining on affected communities.
Mining plays a crucial role in Ghana's socio-economic development, but irresponsible mining practices have had a more detrimental impacts than positive outcomes. In light of the new Mount Ghana's limited takeover of the Asutifi North District, Dr. Yawa Samoa from the University of Education, Winneba, conducted a study which revealed that the local school attended by the children in the area was demolished and relocated to Kenyasi No. 2. Consequently, children in neighboring communities now have had to endure long journeys to reach their school. He indicated that this situation significantly hampers the academic performance of students in these communities.
Was mainly about how children within the fence line communities within the district access formal education and the means by which they do access the formal education, and as to whether those means would affect their performance as pupils or performance as students. And it was so clear that they wouldn't have school just within their immediate environment. That means that pupils will have to travel on an average of, say, 7 kilometers to move from Damso, and that is a fence line community, to go to either Kenyasi No. 2, to either go to Dochi Krom, which is also called Tutuka, and also Yaosu Krom, to access education. Normally, they will have to miss the first morning class, which starts at 7:30. You understand? And the bus may go there even after 8. So they miss the early morning class, which is 7:30, miss assembly, and then sometimes miss the first lesson. And if continuously a child is missing these number of lectures or a number of classes, it definitely will not augur well with them when it comes to their performance. And so you realize that the performance will be deteriorating because of these irregularities when it comes to the bus coming to pick them. Of course,
he recommended that the individuals in these fence line communities be relocated to another settlement.
About, I should say, over 90% were calling for that they want to be resettled. That is a clarion call, that they want to be resettled, to join their kinsmen or their relatives, as most of them said in the interviews. So the school feeding program, I think, should be extended to especially the school at Kodio here, DA, which is at Kenyasi No. 2. Scholarship opportunities for these kids will not be bad. Speaking
on the regulation of mining in forest reserves, Deputy Director of Arocha, Ghana, Darrell, is calling for the repeal of the new LI 2462.
But in recent times, the last 10 years, we've seen some pressure. All our forests come under siege for illegal mining activities. So now we want to ensure that all the laws and regulations coming in are rather going to support their protection. But we have been surprised that this LI actually has been passed, even though it is titled environmental protection, is rather environmental destruction, because it opens up almost all forest reserves now for mining, which is contrary to existing policy on reducing mining in our forest reserves. And this is one of the main reasons why we think that this forest is not going to support our Green Ghana agenda, our climate action, or the commitment we have at an international level, both for biodiversity conservation and also for our own sustainable livelihood. So we believe that repealing this LI will be a good step to really staying committed to sustainable forest management in this country.
The report is titled Mining Induced Placements Impact on Children's Education. Esther Nkrumah's report read to you.
And the limited supply of vaccines in Africa at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic suggested new ways to enable the continent become self-sufficient in vaccine production. The International Vaccine Institute is proposing the establishment of an African Vaccines Alliance to realize this goal. There's more.
According to Dr. Kim, the IVI resolved that Africa should be independent in vaccine manufacturing.
So AVA is the African Vaccines Alliance, and it's not a new idea. But I think that one of the things that we saw during the COVID pandemic is that Africa should no longer be dependent on other countries, on the goodwill of others, for vaccine technology that will prevent death, save lives on the continent. The only way we can do that is to develop sustainable vaccine manufacturing in Africa. And that will be a rather difficult task because right now Africa manufactures less than 1% of its own vaccines. So there's clearly a great need. We think that one of the lessons from the pandemic was that we need to have it, and the question is, how do we do it? IVI believes that it isn't just manufacturing. Manufacturing by itself will make a shell, a factory, and it may or may not be making vaccines the next time a pandemic comes around. So what we really need to do is develop the end-to-end research and development infrastructure that will support sustainable vaccine manufacturing in the end. And this means it starts in a laboratory in Africa. It goes to the manufacture of those vaccines and the testing of those vaccines in subjects, in volunteers in Africa, proving the vaccine is safe and efficacious. That is, it works to prevent disease in Africa, and then working with the manufacturer to ensure that the vaccines will be approved by regulatory authorities, for instance here in Ghana, and then by the WHO, which will allow the vaccine then to be used throughout the continent and actually throughout the world. So the goal here is to not only innovate for Africa, but to innovate within Africa for global health.
The delegation visited the KNUST IVI Collaborative Center at Asante Achimagogo, which was established through a partnership with the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. The team also paid a courtesy call at the Noguchi Memorial Institute, PATH, National Vaccine Institute, National Immunization Technical Advisory Group, Government Advisor on Health, Dr. Anthony Insiasare, KNUST Vice Chancellor, Professor Mrs. Rita Kusia Dixon, and management of Agogo Presbyterian Hospital. Managing Director of DEK Limited, Dr. Kofi Siapuku, also accompanied the team.
We will start with the liquid vaccines, so we are going to do malaria, we are going to do OCV, PCV, rotavirus, and also HPV. So there are about 6 vaccines we are going to start. And the next phase, we are going to do also the freeze-dried vaccines. So we'll move into MR, we'll move into BCG, yellow fever, and meningitis also.
Reporter for JoyNews, Kwesi Debra.
And the Central Regional Minister, Johnston Mary Gonasan, has underscored her commitment to stimulating economic activities and harnessing its economic potential, as well as prioritizing the development of agro-businesses. Speaking at the opening ceremony of the Central Regional Trade and Investment Expo 2023, she emphasized a multifaceted approach to bolster the local economy.
The Expo, which serves as a platform for trade and investment opportunities within the Central Region, has drawn attention to the region's determination to fuel economic growth and prosperity. These initiatives are geared toward transforming the local economy, fostering job creation, and improving the standard of living for its residents. The Central Regional Minister, Justina Marigodasan, underscored the region's recognition of the pivotal role the private sector plays in driving economic growth. She says by creating a conducive environment for investment, the region aims to leverage the expertise and resources of the private sector to achieve its development goals.
Our dream for this fair is to stimulate economic activities in different parts of the region and beyond, harness economic potentials, and to focus on the development of agro-business. We are also highly committed to the promotion of domestic tourism and, above all, attract private sector investments into the region to transform our local economy. This event is a homegrown initiative designed by the Council in line with our regional development strategy and transformation agenda to create visibility for the central region in areas of trade, tourism, and investment. This year's theme, Sustaining Business Opportunities, Nurturing Small-Scale Enterprises in Central Region, is a follow-up of the successes of Central Expo 2022, held last year, which gave opportunity to over 300 exhibitors from large, medium, and small-scale enterprises, especially the private sector, to get the exposure they needed to market their products and services.
President of the Central Regional House of Chiefs, Odefo Amoakobuedu, says the House of Chiefs stands ready to support investors with land to support investment and growth of the region.
It is the duty of chiefs to make lands available to investors, and Central Regional House of Chiefs is doing just that, trying to have land banks for investors. And so we do expect similar commitments from other stakeholders like the government in the provision of an enabling environment through the right policies, incentives, and infrastructure to attract investors and to ensure that businesses thrive.
Deputy CEO of the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, Samuel Kofi Dentu, says industrialization is the main driving force to accelerated development and called for private sector support.
And now, human activities are said to be a major factor accounting for the reason why so many animals are losing their natural habitat. And at the current rate of habitat loss and other activities such as poaching, species such as the African lions are projected to go completely extinct by 2050. However, in a bid to conserve nature, the Kapama Game Reserve in South Africa is dedicating over 16 hectares of land to protecting these endangered species. Well, I've been to this biodiversity spot, and here's what we found out.
Sunrise in the Limpopo province of South Africa. In this area near the town of Hoedspruit, Tikani and her group of conservationists are taking us on a tour to discover what is left of the wild.
We're taking an early morning drive in a 16,000 hectare space called the Kapama Game Reserve. It's a top biodiversity spot hosting the big 5 species that are about going extinct. We're about finding out why this area is so important to conservation and to saving our planet.
A turn on the right brings an impala in sight. According to the International Union for Conservation of Nature, this medium-sized antelope found in eastern and southern Africa is on the red list of threatened species on the verge of going extinct. But Tikani and her eco-conscious team at the Kapama Game Reserve are fighting hard to conserve nature.
And we have Big 5 reserve, and mostly when we say Big 5, it's not 100% guarantee that each and every game drive you're gonna see the Big 5, but we try by all means, guides and trackers, to show you what we have. We have different kind of animal, not only the Big 5. We have other general animal. You can find giraffes, you can find zebras, you can find other small animals. We have animals as little as the little 5, from the Big 5 to the little 5, and all different birds life.
The big 5 species reserved here include this lioness, which has given birth to 2 cubs, a sign of hope for the future. But Tikani tells us that a major factor which could undermine their efforts at protecting these species include poaching.
To us, it's more important, and to all the tourists that come here, because we're still trying to save nature, and even our kids, the next generation, will still find this place still standing as long as we're doing our part in taking care of it. So if we keep doing what we're doing, especially when it comes to rhino, if the poaching still exists, there might be a time, let's say 10 years to 20 years from now, that we'll see less of rhinos. But if we do our part and report poaching and things like that, the next generation will be able to know what is a rhino.
How bad?
There's also the challenge of climate change, which is adversely impacting wildlife.
Climate does change animal behavior. We see that at a certain time of the month we used to find animals more in a certain area than in a certain area. Actually, now we are in our dry season. You will see other animals in certain area of the reserve and then other animals in certain area of the reserve, depending what they eat.
In spite of adversity, management of the Kapama Game Reserve is making a solemn pledge to save the planet and to protect biodiversity. This is Sogah's report for JoyNews, Limpopo, South Africa.
And now the Upper West Regional Director of Health Services, Dr. Damien, is worried about the increasing cases of opioid addiction among some health workers in the country. He's asking these health workers to desist from the practice. The doctor made the disclosure at the 14th Annual General Conference of Pharmacy Technicians Association of Ghana. Rafiq Salam reports.
The 14th Annual General Conference of the Pharmacy Technician Association of Ghana, patient-centered pharmaceutical care, a tool for sustainable pharmacy practice. The 4-day conference brought together members of the association from all 16 regions in the country. Ahafo Regional Director of Health Services, Dr. Damien Puiri, expressed worry over the increasing cases of opium addiction among the youth, with particular emphasis on health workers. Though he has not given out statistics to back his claim, he disclosed that some have lost their lives, whilst others are what he described as walking vegetables, spending all their earning on petagen, tramol, and others.
Of late, there has been an increasing prevalence of opioid addiction among the youth, particularly among health workers. Some have lost their lives through this addiction, while others have largely remained walking vegetables, spend all their earnings trying to buy pethidine and tramadol and many others. Some of our actions and inactions may be contributing to this development. When we facilitate access to these otherwise restricted medications, we are promoting their use among the general public. As such, there is a need for you to do your part in helping limit access to unauthorized use of these harmful drugs. You could also embark on public sensitization to create awareness of the negative effects of unauthorized use of such medications.
National President of the Pharmacy Technician Association of Ghana, PharmTech Richard Ofoso Adai, lauded the Pharmacy Council for giving approval for over 11 schools nationwide to gain accreditation to run HND dispensing technology programs. Though he agreed it will give opportunity to many to join the profession and to serve the nation, has some doubts about the efficacy of the monitoring of the institutions.
The big question is, how effective is the monitoring of these academic institutions in ensuring that the graduates who pass out are of the required education and skill? We have observed over the years that some schools are not admitting students with the required grades and also not following the required educational curriculum. And this has led to some graduates passing out with shallow knowledge in their field of study. We believe that we don't want our knowledge and skill to be that shallow. And so therefore, we call on all stakeholders to come to a roundtable discussion to find a lasting solution to this situation.
Let's take you up north now, because the Upper West Regional Minister, Dr. Hafiz bin Salih, has opined that Northern Region Social Cohesion Project has the potential of changing the economy, speaking at the handing over ceremony of some motorbikes and office equipment to 6 municipal and district assemblies in the region. He stated that the project will better the lives of the people and asked officials at the helm of affairs to work to ensure the success of the project.
The goal for Green Northern Region Social Cohesion Project, SOCO, It's a $150 million 5-year funded International Bank for Construction and Development of the World Bank Group project. The project implementation is being led by the Ministry of Local Government, Decentralization and Rural Development, with 48 metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies located in 6 regions in the northern Gulf of the country and the OT region. The project is expected to deliver resilient community infrastructure and assets through a common-driven development project, CDD. The objective is to improve regional collaboration in socio-economic and climate resilience of border zone communities in the targeted northern regions of the Gulf of Guinea countries exposed to conflict and climate risks. Our Power Region Minister, Dr. Hafiz Bin Sali, at a ceremony to hand over 60 motorbikes and office equipment to 6 municipal and district assemblies in the region for monitoring and supervision of the project, opined that the Sogah project has the potential of changing the economy of the region. He urged the people at the helm of affairs to work diligently to ensure that the right thing is done.
The Sogah project has the potential of changing the economy of the Upper West region. Let's all of us be minded. It should not be business as usual. Some infrastructural facilities shall be constructed. We shall ensure that we get value for money.
And the Director General of the Geological Service Authority has raised concerns over the poor funding to the authority, which he says is impeding the work of the organization. Citing the Seismic Observatory in Accra, he says that though it is an important asset which helps with seismic information, budgetary allocation has not been forthcoming. Martha Bugri now reports.
Geological Survey Authority's media engagement in Tamale was to help the journalists understand the scope of the authority's work and how to help educate the masses on their activities. Mr. Wimbele also raised concerns over the way and manner structures are springing up without people seeking information on seismic investigation when constructing structures.
Geology, I think this is an area that, as a country, we have not been forth upright. We are engaged in all kinds of construction that might not be sustainable. Because if you look at the current trend of these earth tremors that are occurring, it's increasing. And we need to do these studies to be able to tell, or for you to be advised as to what to put up in some parts of the area that you want to develop. Else you may develop it, and in case of a trauma, your structure may not be able to withstand the ground vibration that will be imposed on it.
He said the authority will continue to advise Ghanaians on issues of seismic events.
We also will continue to monitor the seismicity of the country and advise the people of Ghana as and when necessary and what to do in case there are seismic events or in case there are earthquake issues. And this is meant to mitigate the impact of such activities should they occur. At least people should be aware of what to do when such events do occur.
Mr. Wimbele said they will continue to seek support to study to discover new minerals for the country.
We say that the authority continues to employ for additional minerals so that we can diversify the mineral base of the country and instead of the traditional gold, diamond and bauxite that we know. And currently what we are looking at is looking at additional minerals like the iron ore, the limestone, the clay. We want to look at copper, lead, cobalt, lithium, columbite and cobalt. So these are the new national development.
Country Director of the International Justice Mission, Anita Budu, has bemoaned the absence of shelters to accommodate children who have been rescued from some child trafficking incidents. She's been speaking with JoyNews at a fellowship program. There's more in this report.
What I would say to that is that the Department of Social Welfare, it is their role to provide support to any child who has been seen to be in need of care and protection. And so when that happens and a child needs to be protected, a shelter or a protective shelter is somewhere where a child is placed for the period of their rehabilitation while their family is being located, and for them to be assessed and returned to them where it is safe. And so that a shelter is one of the places where a child can be put while those processes are going on. We also have mechanisms such as foster care placements, fit person placements. So my belief is that we need to be looking at all this range of support services through social services for our young children who are vulnerable and deemed to be in need of care protection to be well supported along the whole journey. And so my plea really is that social services are supported and the resources needed are put in place for them to be able to have this full spectrum of placements available to support those really in need.
Some of the stories for this morning, but guess what? We're looking at the newspapers next. Please stay on the AM show.